talk about Shakur Stevenson versus Toka Khan Clary. My thoughts on it in my session, my analysis. Not gonna be too long. I'll get right to the point. Shakur Stevenson, excellent boxer. Excellent boxer. He's moving up in comp, slowly enough, but he's moving up in comp. Last night's fight against Toka Khan Clary pretty much was one-sided, as many people expected. Now, I was watching BFTB. That's one of my favorite boxing channels, man. Shout out to BFTB. But he said that Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, and Chris Colbert are all... There's really no difference between them as far as the way they fight. What's really different about them. And I got to disagree with him on that. Like, each of them are different. I guess in terms of knockouts and stuff like that, and they move around, whatever. I would say he meant like in terms of knockouts or power, so to say. There's a difference in the way they fight. They are, all three of them are not knockout artists. But he said that Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney, particularly them two, there's no real difference in them. And there definitely is, man. In my opinion, Shakur Stevenson is much more of a sharper fighter, much more polished than Devin Haney. At times, Devin Haney could be a little sloppy. If you watch a lot of his fights, his foot placement, he doesn't really he doesn't transition his weight correctly in a lot of his punches. If you watch, Shakur Stevenson does it. I think Shakur Stevenson is more accurate than Devin Haney. I would say Devin Haney has superior footwork, though. Devin Haney's footwork is much more better than Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson is much more flat-footed. When you watch him, you see remnants of Terrence Crawford in him. But Terrence Crawford moves around a bit more, has more foot movement than Shakur Stevenson. But they are definitely on, as far as like power, I mean, they're almost on the same playing field because they're not known as power punchers. A lot of people are questioning Shakur Stevenson's power as far as will he grow into his man strength. And I mean, my thing is, I don't really believe in the man strength thing so much, man. I believe in, when you're already a man, you already have your man strength, man. It's like if you're a teenager or you 10 years old, right? Obviously you're 10, you're gonna have issues lifting up something that's 150 pounds, right? Or let's say 100 pounds. You're 10 years old, you don't have all the muscle that you would have if you were, let's say, 25 years old. So when you get 25, lifting that thing that was 100 pounds is going to be easier lifting it when you're 10. I guess you can equate that to strength more than power. Or you could say, okay, as far as strength will be able to lift it, but to take that thing that's 100 pounds and flick it up in the air would take power. That's how I analyze power. And you can do that much easier when you're 25 than you can when you're 10. So these guys are already adults, man. So that whole thing about growing into your man strength, they're already men. Mike Tyson was 19, man. He had the power already. It was there. So I think I'm more of a believer that you're either born with the power, man, or you ain't. And you can't just get that overnight. It's just like Wilder. You think he developed that right hand? That happened when he grew into his man strength? He had that waiting. It was already in him and was bred in him already. And I think that's the same thing with a lot of these other boxers that have power. They were born with that. They were naturally born with that power. They grew into their power. Like Tank Davis and a lot of these fighters like that, they grow into their power. You can't gain it like that. I mean, you can gain a little bit of strength and put a little bit of pop behind your power that you already might have. But it's nothing, you can't learn that shit like that, man. I think you're really naturally gifted. You're born with that shit. And I was watching him fight Clary, and it was times he was punching him, and Clary wasn't even moving. He wasn't budging. So then when I seen that, I'm like, okay, he's gonna be pretty much. He might gain a little bit of power if he practices on his strength and more of a condition, I think. But I don't really see Shakur Stevenson's power really transitioning any more than what it already is. That might be a problem for him, or it might not be. In his case, he moves around, but he doesn't have the speed. He's more flat-footed, so he's gonna have to learn as he gets up in comp. He's gonna have to learn to move his head. I don't see Shakur moving his head a lot. He's gonna have to do something different when he gets up there. If he fights like Tank Davis or like a Teofimo or somebody like that, or a Ryan Garcia, he's gonna have to move his head a lot more, man. But I think he's a very sound fighter. I'm not sure if he pulled everything out of his toolbox yet, but his power, I don't see it really there. It's not elite power. You know what I mean? I think all boxers can punch, but the power, I don't see. The guy didn't budge, man. Like, he didn't wobble. He didn't budge him. Now, I've seen Shakur wobble lower comp fighters, lower tier fighters. But like I said, when you go up, man, it's either a puncher's chance you're going to wobble somebody if you don't really have the power, or you just ain't going to budge him at all, man, as far as I'm concerned. But he put on a masterpiece. He got the win, and a lot of people was upset that he didn't get the knockout. And that's the problem with boxing fans, like, a lot of people, casuals especially, or hardcores even, man. Everybody expect all these boxers to get the KO. Not going to always get a KO in every fight. Show me one boxer besides maybe Edgar Berlanga right now, at this stage at least, that has all KOs and all his fights. There's not many that have that. Very few. It's an anomaly. So you can't expect every boxer to get a knockout in every fight, man, because you're facing different comp, different styles. You know what I mean? Some dudes move around. Some dudes got better chins. Some dudes are you know what I mean? It's different. There's different circumstances in each fight that, you're not going to always get the knockout. But he did well. I see him doing good, but I think he needs to work on his head movement, his footwork, and maybe a little bit more strength and conditioning. I think he'll be okay. But that's my assessment on a great fight, man. I see good things with Shakur Stevenson if he work on those things. But I definitely see some problems if he faced Tank Davis or somebody with power, if he doesn't start moving it. If he starts being more mobile, more moving around a little bit more, he's going to be a problem, man. He's going to be a problem. That's just my take. This is Rebel Light Boxing. Like and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Catch y'all in the next one, man. Peace.